Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Terrace's fire department had a big announcement yesterday. Prince Rupert got a lot of money to fix their sewage situation, and Surrey's hospital did not get a solution to their overcrowding problem at a recent press conference.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cal Maslin, and here's what's making news in the Northwest and beyond. A major announcement was recently made by the Terrace Fire Department in regards to how they got some of their brand new equipment in order to assist their firefighting efforts. Yesterday saw the Terrace Fire Department host a gathering at their fire hall in order to showcase the launch of a new piece of cutting-edge technology they will be using from now on. The new equipment in question they have is called a self-contained breathing apparatus, which will be placed on all of the department's frontline fire vehicles, and they have made the head fire chief quite happy.
This is a huge investment into our firefighters and the overall response capability of the fire department. We're well supported through Mayor and Council and administration here at City Hall, so I want to thank both Mayor and Council and administration for their help with this project.
Chad Cooper also went on to say that this addition will lead to improvements in operation capabilities on fire scenes, health and safety, and make command roles easier since there are Bluetooth communications in the apparatuses. It's also expected that other nearby departments will look at adding such equipment as well. But the main upgrade that was talked about is how the equipment will help firefighters breathe easier.
The actual breathing apparatus portion of it has a built-in exhalation that allows everything to be deferred away from the body, away from the lungs, away from the actual breathing in to the human. So that's a really big aspect of these packs.
The new apparatuses are also said to be about 3 pounds lighter, so all fire department members should have an easier time putting on and moving around in the equipment, which is especially important in situations where every second counts. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cal Maslin. Prince Rupert is celebrating after receiving more than $77 million in federal funding in order to help the city with much-needed upgrades to its water and sewage pipes.
This is actually a section of pipe that was removed, and you can tell that doesn't hold a lot of water. And that's why we're here today.
Prince Rupert has been plagued with serious water breaks in recent years that nearly caused the city's water reservoir to dry up during the previous fall. Yesterday's funding announcement comes 1 year after Ottawa gave Prince Rupert $65 million. The funds are said to be coming out of the Fed's Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund. The Prince Rupert Port Authority has recently put out a statement that talked about a brand new partnership that is now official. The authority has given the golf course in Smithers access to their community investment fund, which is allowing the course to do some much-needed upgrade work. Thanks to the fund, the Smithers Golf and Country Club has managed to enhance their cart paths and make them more accessible so that there will be no issues for when they are used during the winter. Those trails are used by local residents during the winter months for things like snowshoeing, tobogganing, and of course walking. The PRPA's fund gave out $78,500 for the project, and after those upgrades got finished, the club is now expecting participation numbers to increase with their terrain now being entirely family-friendly. Reports have come out and said that the Bulkley Valley District Hospital that is located in Smithers is getting some new equipment installed. The equipment in question is known as a state-of-the-art chemistry analyzer, a very important device that is said to be used in around 75% of the hospital's lab tests. The previous analyzer has been in use since 2010, and the newer version of it has been touted as being roughly 3 times faster than the older version and should save staff time on things like maintenance as well as routine calibrations. It's also been said that the hospital's lab staff is going to be given specialized training over a period of a few months on how to work the new analyzer properly, in addition to a quality assurance validation process as a way to make sure precision is guaranteed when the machine is used. Coming up next, David Eby is dealing with the fallout of a major resignation in his party. Welcome back. Now for what may be the Premier's biggest test yet, the fallout of a bombshell resignation. A member of David Eby's party suddenly resigned with claims of anti-Semitism within the NDP. There are calls for a full investigation and another resignation. CTV's Rob Buffum has more.
The Premier had to face the music a day after bombshell allegations from former Finance Minister and Jewish MLA Selina Robinson.
It's a humbling moment to know that I didn't create the space for her to be able to bring that forward, and I'll have to reflect on that.
Robinson, now an independent, scorched her former colleagues in this letter, alleging numerous instances of anti-Semitism and double standards by Eby, who she says forced her to resign from cabinet last month after comments she made offended many in the Palestinian community, but for which she apologized.
A double standard that I know has deeply hurt the Jewish community, deeply offended Jewish leaders.
Even though I disagree with Selina's characterization of a number of my colleagues in this letter who fight every day to fight racism and discrimination, I have to accept as a leader that as a Jewish woman with these unique experiences in our caucus, she didn't feel safe.
The controversy, likely the biggest yet to hit David Eby's government, dominated question period and was targeted by opposition leaders.
When we look at what Selina had to say, that we called for David Eby's resignation.
Given these very serious accusations of systemic anti-Semitism within this NDP government, would he do the right thing and call a full independent investigation?
This afternoon, NDP Environment Minister George Heyman, himself a Jewish member of caucus, called a press conference denying anti-Semitism exists in his party.
My experience is that our caucus and our cabinet is deeply committed to fighting anti-Semitism, to opposing hatred.
But Robinson's claims have the full support of the Jewish Federation of Greater Vancouver, who are also calling for an investigation of anti-Semitism throughout the whole government.
We believe this rot goes into the civil service corps within the government. And I think we need now is time for a reckoning within government when it comes to anti-Semitism.
Eby is meeting tomorrow with Jewish leaders, a meeting he says was planned some time ago, but suddenly has taken on critical importance.
BC United blasted the NDP over the release of a convicted sex offender who's now accused of molesting another child. Taylor Dewick is accused of sexually interfering with an 11-year-old girl at an equestrian center in Kelowna while his supervisor sat in a car for hours. CTV's Michelle Bernero spoke with the facility's owner.
29-year-old Taylor Dewick was in Kelowna court for a bail hearing after being charged with sex-related offenses, the judge's reserved decision. Dewick was arrested last month after an 11-year-old girl was victimized at an equestrian facility in Kelowna.
This NDP government apparently thought that not only was it a good idea to give this pedophile free horseback riding lessons, they decided to book those lessons at a riding camp that was easily identifiable as a venue for children.
The equestrian center owner, who asked not to be identified to protect the child's identity, said she only allowed the man into her program after being told that he was a vulnerable member of the community and a wonderful person. She said she now feels lied to and misled. She told CTV, "I was absolutely horrified and outraged somebody like this was ever brought to us. I feel like we were all put directly in harm's way. Honestly, my trust of government programs was violated, exploited, and taken advantage of." She says the person who she later learned was supposed to be supervising Dewick was sitting in his car at the time of the alleged incident.
The requirement was one-to-one supervision at all times. The second requirement was that he was never to be around children.
At every level, this was a massive failure of judgment. For CLBC to take on responsibility for someone with a criminal record like this, for them to subcontract that responsibility to an obviously negligent and incompetent subcontractor.
Community Living BC said in an email that the contract of the service provider involved is under review. This MLA says Kelowna RCMP told her that they wanted to issue a public warning when Dewick was released into the community, but were told he didn't meet the criteria.
I cannot think of one reason that that criteria would not have been met.
Duke has a history of sexual offenses. He was denied parole in 2022 after being deemed a high risk to reoffend. The Premier says an investigation into what happened is underway. Michelle Bernoro, CTV News.
Surrey's mayor hopes that something would be done about overcrowding at Surrey's Memorial Hospital, such as an expansion, but when the health minister held a news conference recently, he announced nothing of the sort despite soaring demand. Penny Daflos has more of the details.
British Columbia's busiest emergency department is so overwhelmed, there's now a portable outside for sick kids to wait for care.
It saddens me, but that's where we're at in Surrey.
As promised, the health minister and Fraser Health brass were at Surrey Memorial Hospital to provide another update on measures to improve services after doctors raised the alarm about dangerous waits last spring.
Recruitment, obviously it's an issue. There's a labor shortage in this province, absolutely, in the medical health field. But the fact that they've recruited 165 healthcare professionals is amazing.
It's not instant change, but on every one of the measures we decided to do together, there has been action and there has been progress.
Frontline workers tell CTV News there are improvements on the 30-point action plan, but they were disappointed there won't be an expansion of the hospital, even though a provincial election is looming in the fall.
Honestly, I was hoping to hear about a second tower right here at Surrey. We didn't hear that. I'm hopeful, though, that's in the plan. It's sad that we have to talk about it in terms of an election year.
I recognize that there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, but for people when they're walking into the hospital, they're still facing really long waits for care. So I want to know, when are patients going to start seeing the impacts of these measures?
Well, they are now. There are more patients, it should be said, but they are now. The significant increase in staff at every level here at the hospital makes a difference.
It's getting more typical for people to wait up to 12 hours to go from the waiting area to an exam room in the SMH emergency department. There are 740 patients in proper beds, with another 85 in hallways and makeshift care spaces at this moment.
We're going to be back again and again and again as we deliver and deliver and deliver.
Incremental measures are helping, but they aren't even close to keeping up with Surrey's booming population and the patient needs that come with it. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Surrey.
Turning to tonight's weather, the north coast is likely to see a chance of showers at a low at 2 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area will have a mix of snow and rain while the low is down at 0 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District is supposed to deal with periods of rain and snow mixes with the low at -3 degrees. On the north coast, their week should consist of mostly just rain and maybe some flurries, and a high going between 5 and 7 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, the upcoming week is said to see mainly clouds, snow, and rain, while the high shifts from 3 and 5 degrees. In the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the week for them should deal with a bit more sun, but still have snow, flurries, rain, and clouds, with a high bouncing from 2 to 9 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is slippery sections utility work, bridge maintenance, compact snow pavement patching, and a new traffic signal being installed, plus the Usk ferry is out of service and the cable car is in effect. Highway 118 has some slippery sections too. Highway 37 has slippery sections too, while also having compact snow. Highway 37A has slippery sections as well, some more slippery sections on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has slippery sections of its own. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region for the Northern Province's highway cams. Still to come, the U.S. is set to get a major political rematch later this year. Welcome back. A growing number of Canadians are fighting with the Bank of Montreal to recoup money that's been stolen from their accounts. Many of them were scammed out of thousands of dollars by someone impersonating a BMO employee. CTV's Austin Lee has more on the red flags being raised over BMO's security measures and accountability.
It's happening all over the place, and it's just as frustrating as heck that these people can do this.
Lori Johnson is one of dozens of BMO customers searching for answers to no avail. In October, $15,000 was stolen from her mother's bank account. She now has power of attorney, hoping to recoup her mother's lost money.
The police can't catch them. They can't seem to do anything. They said they would never be able to find them. And the bank's not doing anything, and these people are just continuing to do this everywhere.
And the threat of falling victim to a cyber attack is growing.
Cyber criminals don't even have to be computer whizzes anymore. Increasingly, they can just buy the kits. They can buy the data. They can buy the entire end-to-end process, including the scripts that they should follow when they reach you on the phone. And so what we're seeing now is almost a commoditization of cyber crime.
Katia Feder is another BMO customer who had $14,500 stripped from her account. She was told the BMO investigation found she did not properly safeguard her information.
You're going to someone internal in the bank who reports to the CEO, and they know that to keep their job, they're supposed to protect the bank, not protect the customer, and that's why the customer always gets blamed.
There have been promises from the federal government. They plan to have a single ombudsman handle all external complaints. That change will come into effect next November, but Conacher says it's not enough.
Bankers sit on the board of the Ombuds complaint handling service. And so it's not as independent as it really needs to be effective, and also lacks key powers.
In the meantime, frustrated BMO customers like Johnson have a message for the banks.
Figure out how to stop this from happening for your sake and ours. It's outrageous.
Austin Lee, CTV News.
Regardless of if they won it, Americans are getting a high-stakes political rematch in November. Donald Trump and Joe Biden are well on their way to becoming the presumptive presidential nominees, following a super decisive Super Tuesday that ended the campaign of Trump's lone remaining challenger. CTV's Joy Malbon reports.
After winning millions of votes, it wasn't enough to beat Donald Trump. Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador, suspending her long-shot challenge in the presidential race.
I said I wanted Americans to have their voices heard. I have done that. I have no regrets.
The first woman to win a Republican primary contest congratulated Trump, but stopped short of endorsing him. Instead, Haley urged Trump to win back disgruntled voters who saw her as an alternative.
It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him.
Even as she was on stage, Trump couldn't help himself, taking a final shot at his rival on social media, posting, "Nikki Haley got trounced last night in record-setting fashion," bashing Haley's supporters as radical left Democrats, but then inviting them to join his MAGA movement. All of it setting up a rematch with President Joe Biden, a race that's shaping up to be vicious, bitter, and grueling.
November 5th is going to go down as the single most important day in the history of our country.
Biden praised Haley's courage for speaking the truth about Trump. She called him toxic, unhinged, and that chaos follows him. Biden also appealed to her supporters turned off by Trump. But the president faces low approval ratings, and voters are expressing frustration on the ballot over his handling of the Israel-Hamas war. No one, it seems, is happy with the candidates out there.
I don't want to vote for him again, and I don't want to vote for Joe Biden. Right now, it's kind of, I feel homeless.
It's such a divided country. I'm tired of it being divided. I'd rather be somewhere in the middle.
President Joe Biden addresses the nation Thursday, laying out his accomplishments in his State of the Union speech and taking on Trump more aggressively, making this election about choice and values. Joy Malbon, CTV News, Washington.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is up 1/100 of a cent. The price of gold is up $20.30. Oil is down 92 cents. Natural gas is down 1 cent. Aluminum is up $18. In Toronto, the TSX is down 57.03 points. The Venture Index is up 0.21. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 68.66, and Nasdaq is down 188.27. Still ahead, investigators are trying to figure out what caused the small plane crash. Welcome back. Investigators are working to determine what caused a small plane to crash in Nashville, killing 5 Canadians, including 3 kids. A preliminary report is expected to be released next week. CTV's Mike Walker explains what's known so far.
The flying community at the Brampton-Caledon Airport is mourning. The single-engine plane that crashed in Tennessee and claimed the lives of 5 Canadians, including 3 children, was based here.
It's affected all of us at the field here. We never want to lose anybody, especially for him to go down with his family.
Tony Sarsevic's hangar was next to the plane's owner, who he says was a father of 3 young children.
He was a Russian-Ukrainian background. He told us about the situation that's going on in his country, and he told us how happy he was. He said Canada's the best country in the world, that he could own an airplane.
The plane took off from Ontario Monday afternoon and made stops in Pennsylvania and Kentucky before the catastrophic crash in Nashville. Moments before the pilot alerted air traffic control there was an emergency.
Turn it off. I'm at 1,600. I'm going to be landing. I don't know where.
I'm declaring emergency. Could you have the airport in sight? Straight in runway 2. Straight in runway 2.
Yes, I have the runway inside.
Runway 2, clear to land.
I'm too far away. I won't make it.
The fiery crash caught on a traffic camera on the side of Interstate 40, just kilometers from the airport.
At that point in time, he didn't have enough to glide to the airport, so he had to do what we call as a forced landing. And with that being said, he probably had about a minute to a minute and a half to figure out where he was going to put the aircraft down.
American and Canadian aviation officials continue to investigate what went wrong.
First thing is they're going to do is they're going to get the engine and try to figure out why the engine quit. Was it a mechanical failure internally? Was it a fuel issue?
Investigators are yet to confirm the identities of the victims and their relationships.
Mike Walker, CTV News.
Ombudsperson Jay Chalk says BC's Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure should take steps to address what he calls problematic road legislation. He says questions about who owns certain roads and who can use them are causing disputes between neighbors, residents, and the government, especially in rural and remote communities. The Ombudsperson's report outlines complaints that stem from a section of the Transportation Act, which states in some cases roads on private property can automatically be deemed to be public when public money is spent on maintenance. In one case, a property owner who believed a road through her property was private was surprised to learn she could not prevent logging trucks from using the road because it was deemed to be public. That's all of our news for now. From everyone at CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin. Thanks for watching.